Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Investing Podcast. Today our topic, I'm your host, Oliver. I just decided I'm host, by the way. Do you want to be host? Today we'll be talking about the US dollar as a world reserve currency and its history and some of its future prospects. I gave you guys an article last week about what might replace the US as the world reserve currency. But to understand this question a bit better, I think it's good to start with what the US currency was and is. So
you're staring at me very intensely.
I am staring at you because you happen to be sitting directly across from me.
Is this because of what I said?
It's because of what you said, and also you're taking history. You should know something. Tell us.
First of all, guys, join history. History is great. No, but the American currency became essentially the universal one originally because it was gold-based, right? Currency it used to be until like 50 years ago or so. It was gold-based. It was this money turns into however much gold, right? And that was like what, 200 years, 300 years, yada yada. You even had like kings, so much gold.
I think the gold standard was introduced in the 1920s, if I'm not mistaken. It was 1930s.
Perhaps. Right. But the thing is, the gold has always been a standard of currency, or always viewed as being very.
Actually, I might be wrong. I think the gold standard goes a lot further back. So I was off by like 90 years.
Honestly, 90 years in the grand scheme of things.
It's nothing. No, it's like nothing in human history.
I'll be dead in 90 years, but still.
But the essence of how it works is basically every US dollar can be converted to
No longer.
This was before 1971, before the gold standard was abolished. But there was a fixed exchange rate between USD and gold, which I think it went for, what was it again? It was like $35 for 1 ounce of gold or something. I don't remember exactly what it was.
And this was right, and then 1971 they abolished it because America could no longer keep up with this exchange, right? And so now technically it's not based off of gold anymore, but it is still very powerful because of just the American economy to begin with, right? The economy is extremely powerful in terms of entertainment industries. Military is a big part of it. They have oil, they have farming, they have whatever.
There really isn't much to say. The U.S. Economy is the biggest economy in the world.
Exactly, right? Whereas if you look at Britain, right, they're more economic based, right? They have more economic sector things than others things, right? Even if you look at Canada, right, our actors go to Hollywood to make it big. Right? Anyways.
So the U.S. currency was a world reserve currency because, first we should maybe clarify what a world reserve currency is. It's basically the standard that most countries do their transactions using. Think of trading between countries using the USD as a sort of medium of exchange is it's a good way to keep things standardized and tied to each other. And this was good because the USD was based off of a real commodity, which was gold, right? Past tense. So that means its value was stable relatively.
And how that came to be was World War I, World War II. All of the European countries borrowed a lot of money from America, and so if I'm correct, this might just be complete bullshit. A lot of their treasuries in gold were essentially moved to America because America had given them so much military aid, like weaponry, tanks, and so on, right? And so afterwards, they realized that all the gold was already in America's hands. And so that essentially was how the American currency became the universal standard.
Because every country,
most countries had their gold.
Many superpowers that were prior to the war, now was massively in debt to the U.S.
So that's true. So basically, most of the gold was in the U.S.
Most of the gold.
Basically, if you owe somebody like half of your GDP, then they have a lot of control over you. Right? Because you're sort of tied down by that debt. That's kind of how the U.S. gained so much of its economic prowess for this past century.
And now so I mean that's kind of history, right? So I guess we should move to why this is even a topic to talk about nowadays, right? Because America's going great. You got guns, you got glory, you got freedom.
Fast forward to 2023. Although the U.S. is still the most dominant currency in the world, along with like the euro and some other the Japanese yen. Those are some of the biggest currencies. But things are starting to change a little bit. So
mainly due to
geopolitical
slowdowns
reasons. Yeah.
Also,
COVID, for example, where like many countries were more specifically was like U.S. was like printing a ton of money, like it was like completely, people weren't working, right? And then somehow like the government just keeps printing out more and more money and it just keeps handing it out. Yeah. So like in this sense, like kind of endangered the U.S. Like the U.S. currency itself in the sense that the more you print, the lesser in value it becomes, and then at some point, it might just completely collapse because at some point, the amount of like assets you could say in that U.S. has combined would be worth minimal because you have so much money that's printed out. You can at some point it'll be like hundreds of dollars to get like a single, I don't know, an apple or something.
well, to be fair, right, like
it wasn't to that extent.
Right,
It wasn't to that extent.
And even now, right, like they are keeping it under control.
Well, they're trying to keep it under control right now.
But I think another issue, or the bigger one, is the fact that they're deficit spending, right?
Yeah.
They just recently gave themselves what's it called? They raised their debt ceiling, right? Yeah. They were projected to reach it like this year or last year, right? But they were just like
you mean like budget?
no, their debt.
That's ceiling.
Yeah.
So it's like the maximum amount of allowed debt.
Yeah. Right. So like it was basically
Isn't that what
like
happened to like Silicon Valley?
It is healthy. It's a very good thing, as I'm sure. Like
It
large
depends
economies.
though. It depends.
Well, having a bit of debt like allows you to have more spending power and allows you to invest more.
But the thing is, they were projected to reach it, and like the line was the set out one that was like, "Hey guys, if we reach this, we're screwed," kind of deal, right? Well, maybe not as harsh, right? But like that's the general idea. And then there was like, "It's fine, guys. We can just add a zero here."
All right, so okay, let's go back to the gold standard. So, do any of you know why gold specifically was used instead of some
rare.
It's rare. It's pretty.
any other reasons?
He doesn't want to talk.
All right, so you see gold. Okay, it may look good, but it's actually used for many purposes. So gold is a very conductive metal and is therefore used in like semiconductors, conductors, machinery parts, and many other purposes. Like in older computers, you can probably extract gold from them or other valuable resources. And the gold is also very rare, and while the supply is, well, there's a very large supply of gold, but not as abundant to make it not as valuable as like iron or something.
Because it's like limited.
Yeah, it's relatively rare, but
I guess it's become more popular because of all the gold rushes, right? And all the amount of gold being found in America.
Not especially.
But then, like, you can also say,
the gold
like-
rushes were gold rushes because gold is extremely valuable, right? So it didn't really like
But then-
decrease the overall.
Of course, it probably did decrease in value after you find like larger quantities like being found like that, and then overall, I guess you could say like it increased like the amount of gold in general within America. So like there's more gold being circulated, which I guess that's why it's like a currency that you can at the same time you can exchange and use, but at the same time it can be also like a staple that people can like convert directly.
the gold has been a commodity for like thousands of years across like hundreds of cultures, and it's like one of the most, I guess, it has caused many wars, conflicts, and other stuff, showing that it's
Perhaps one of the
of
most
extreme value.
sought after commodities.
Then Jaden also. It's very hard to tarnish it.
Oh, that's right. It
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
corrode as well. So Ryan, why would you say that gold, the implementation of the gold standard contributed to the U.S. dollar being such a powerful world reserve currency for such a long time?
I think that gold is like it's a very solid thing to base off a currency off of, as like in the past, gold has been frequently used as currency in the form of like gold coins, gold bars, and things like that. And by tying your currency to value, you basically elevate your currency to the level of a valuable metal.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like now you also have like a basis, right? You have this excuse of like my currency is the universal one because I have tied to gold, right? No other country has it tied to gold. I'm special, right? Kind of deal.
Right. And what's really funny is that in 2023, the majority of currencies are actually fiat currency. So they're not based on any real commodity, and their values are completely relative and based on their own economic performance. So the U.S. has jumped into this cart as well, starting 1971. I'm actually not sure why fiat currencies are now the default, but I think a lot of it could be attributed to some of the advantages of using currencies as opposed to
Yeah.
commodity
Yeah.
based because
And
it's
also I
more
think
it's much more flexible.
Yeah.
For one thing,
it's also much more efficient, right? Because
and more
you
efficient.
only have so much gold, you only have so much silver, right?
Yes. What they did before the gold standard was abolished was that there had to be an amount of US dollar equal in value to
Right.
the US gold reserves according to this transaction or this exchange rate of $1 per 35. I don't remember what I don't remember what it was. I should
It's
search
fine.
it
You
up.
don't need it.
I just want to be
Okay.
able to reference it.
Okay, or we do need it. Hey, but yeah, I mean, yeah, currencies, right?
So I suppose we could talk about like the origins of currency, like why there are few currencies.
Oh well, I mean, like you can look at ancient coinage, whatever, right? They were extremely like volatile, and they were based off of like areas that they were used, or like neighbors, right? Like the Roman Empire, the Greek, no, not really Greek, I suppose, but mainly the Romans, right? They had currency that was kind of this, or they did have their own kind of currency set out because they also realized like because their empire was so big, right? Some guy from Rome itself could go all the way to, I actually don't know the name.
Somewhere
Gauls,
in
Gaul. Gaul. I forgot the modern name. Gaul. I believe it's French. Gaul is present day France.
That's not very far.
Right.
Roman
For,
Empire
for the
back
Romans,
then.
it was
So
extremely.
I think
That was
It was
very
just from all the way from Britain all the way to like the Middle East, the
Right.
Ottoman Empire.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
So
but-
from here to there, right? They realized that you had people with this type of money going to here and going like, hey, can we sell this?
Yes.
Right. And they're just looking at it, like, what the hell is this? I don't know what this is. I can't use it to buy bread next door. Get out. Right. So they had their own thing. Right.
Yeah, so that's why like
Yeah. Right. And I guess that's kind of
the idea
now,
of a general currency
right,
that
it's emulated
most people
now
look to.
present day. Right. Like for example, a guy from Africa can go to China, right, with American dollar, for example, and they will probably take it.
Wow, American dollar.
Exchanges in RMB, but like on the macro scale, that's perhaps what would happen.
Yeah.
Is as a world reserve currency, a lot of transactions are kind of based around it.
Yeah.
And so
And not just other like transactions would be based. It would be like other currencies as well would also be like based around it too as well. So like you have like one currency, the one general currency. Lots of currencies will also have like a set exchange rate for them as well. So like I guess it's like more of like to standardize, in my opinion. Like make sure it's like make the economy world global wise a lot more stable than it would be now.
That's why we use like US dollar.
Yeah.
Make
So
it
like
more recognized. That's why.
It's recognized, yes. Right. Do you guys want to come to the crux of the discussion today, which
Yeah.
is like
the
what is
changing
the real-
tides that
what's the
may
real place, I
be
suppose?
overthrowing the US currency.
because it's not doing that well now.
So the article was
Well,
actually
I mean, I would argue that it's doing well, but like the thing is, like there are cracks right now that people can foresee happening that might begin to make it start going slowly downwards.
yeah, unfortunately the US economy is kind of on a decline right now. So the USD, I believe, is like kind of losing value.
It is.
Yeah,
And-
though, I will right that we're not saying that the American economy is going to collapse. It's just that
It's not going to collapse,
yeah, it's just
probably.
that it's may
It's
not
not
be
doing
able
just-
to, and may not be able to sustain a universal currency anymore.
and America's role as like a global superpower is being challenged and such. So alternatives to the USD, a lot of people also hold like euros or the Chinese yuan like as an alternative to the USD.
So other what's it called, countries' currencies is one of the
In
main
particular,
ones.
the other major economic superpowers,
Like the
so
euro.
the European Union and China.
right. You guys want to start with the euro or the Chinese yuan? Because let's start with China first, I guess, because
Right.
China's
Yeah.
easier to cover, right? I mean, the main thing is politically, right now, a lot of Western countries, and hell, even some of perhaps China's neighbors do not trust China to have a transparent, open economy that people can be sure of what's going on.
That's true.
Right.
Because
And
like
transparency issues does
yeah.
pervade the
Yeah.
Chinese
because
economy.
again, like most there's like a lot of companies, right? And then Chinese companies, they'd be like, accused of like, for example, TikTok, right? They'd be like, there's these transparency issues there where like people aren't they're hesitant about, giving information or like allowing too much
Yeah.
space for China to like move around in because right now it's they're not we don't know what pretty much all of like Chinese banks, they're all run by the government, right? So like there's the one that's have like control over.
I meant like the Chinese economy is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And it probably could sustain a universal currency, but the mistrust is
probably impeding it a little
Yeah.
bit.
I mean, I wouldn't say a little bit. I think a lot.
Substantially, perhaps.
Substantial. Yeah. Do you have anything?
I was going to say something.
10 seconds. Go.
So about the Chinese yuan, about devaluing their currencies, they did it enable to keep labor costs low, as but during then they were still relatively a developing country and really needed that additional income.
Oh, and also, I mean, what day is it today? May?
May 1st.
May 1st. Okay, yeah. So I guess like solid, perhaps 2 weeks, a month ago, I believe China was, well, the UN or whatever had made the statement that China was estimated to come out of a middle income country and into a higher income country, right? But they suppose it has some controversy going on with the fact that they still declare themselves a middle, meaning they wouldn't have the same regulations. What's it called?
Tariffs?
No.
It goes against-
Environmental regulations and stuff on them, because with middle country you would still have some benefits, right? Or like little things that you can be a little lax on, but then with a higher one you're expected to set a standard, right? So there's also kind of like that kind of thing. Like China's not. I forgot the word again. Like this is environmental, but like just a lot of problems going on with China, right? Which kind of impedes or stops it from really rising to the top.
Yeah, but let's talk about maybe the BRICS alliance. You guys surely have heard about it.
India, China, and South Africa, I think.
Yeah, so it's the economic alliance that a lot of these second world countries have banded together.
They're just catching.
And I think it's supposed to be like a trading bloc type.
I believe so. Like economically aid each other.
So through this economic aid, it's possible that all these countries could gain sort of economic influence, perhaps against the United States. Whether or not that may be the intention, I think it's a natural progression of things.
Right. You
For-
have a
Is it like OPEC or something where they form in lines?
Yeah,
Kind of like that. So
Yeah,
all
kinda
these
like
it's
that.
basically that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So
But
from there
business-wise.
could arise some form of a currency. Or
And the article also talked about using a basket of currencies, perhaps
they
some
did.
of the BRICS currencies.
Yeah, they did. Or the euro. Euro already has what, 27?
Yeah.
27 countries.
I don't know how does the euro work? It's
Oh,
supposed to be unified currency, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yours
it.
is- yeah.
Yeah. All
So
the
that
countries
wouldn't
just
really
have-
be a basket of
No.
Printing is like
no.
heavily
Yeah.
restricted, so you don't end up like deflating the currency.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. So I mean, 27 countries already use it.
So the thing is, like, what
Not
we
a
could be
huge
looking
jump.
at potentially is a country without a sort of central world reserve currency, a sort of decentralized system.
Right. Which
Yeah.
might be worse. Might be better.
So as far as things are right now, it's probably quite difficult to ascertain what the trajectory of the USDB might be
Yeah.
like, except it is going downhill.
Yeah, but
But
honestly, right? Like it's
Yeah.
America. They can, if they try, or it comes to it, they might be able to just pull themselves out.
we'll have to see about that.
Yeah, we have to see. Yeah.
And on that note, shall we conclude today's meeting?